My name is Judy Major-Girardin, and I'm an artist living in Cambridge, but I've worked in Hamilton for more than 30 years at McMaster University in the School of the Arts. I do a range of things. Printmaking and painting, I would say, are the two dominant media I work in, but sometimes I work with fiber. The thing that's been sort of the focus for the last 8 to 10 years is trying to find alternative processes that are a little more sustainable, a little more environmentally responsible than some of the more traditional processes. The body of work that I've produced for this particular show is predominantly painting, and all of the work has a theme which I believe is a sort of sustainability theme. I'm working with wetland areas, so water surfaces, plants that are in wetland areas, trying to kind of celebrate and just raise awareness for those areas which are typically drained and made into agricultural plots or industrial areas or housing areas. Everybody thinks they need to be drained and fixed and get rid of the insects and the swampy land, but they're actually, so important to the environment in terms of how they filter out toxins, flood control, oxygen rejuvenation. I mean, they're like the complete, perfect, sustainable system, and we keep eliminating it to the point where we've lost about 95% of wetlands around the Great Lakes, which is pretty alarming. I'm an artist who loves beauty, I love paint, I love materials, I love all of that aesthetic stuff. But underneath of that, I think the imagery, I hope anyway, just gets people thinking about those spaces as beautiful, important spaces that we might think differently about. In the last few years, I've been very interested in going to residencies. I think, at a certain point, you work in a studio by yourself for a long period of time, and I hadn't done it prior because I do a lot of teaching, so I have a lot of interaction with people, so I've always kind of valued that isolated time in my studio. But at some point you sort of exhaust the things that are in your own head and I don't know, sort of need to reach out and be involved. I guess I miss being a student is kind of part of it. In June I went to Lacawac Nature Sanctuary. So that was an experience to meet people who were interested in water, to be in a situation where there were scientists who knew a little bit more than I do about sort of wetland areas, to learn from them. And I went really without a plan, except that I decided I would do a painting a day. That was kind of my plan, to get back into painting. Prepared a lot of small panels and basically just did a painting a day for the couple of weeks that I was there. I went to the very same place at the lake almost every day, and through that process of just looking and looking again and looking again, I think you sort of get at a deeper level of understanding of what is there than you might otherwise. But I found plants that even the biologists, I would say, what is it? And they didn't know either, because they'd never really looked closely at the very tiny things that were going on there. They all had their particular specialities. So I decided to go back in the fall to look at the same place in a different season. And that was interesting as well. The weather just flipped when I went in the fall. It was freezing cold all week. It sleeted and rained and snowed, which wasn't what I was expecting. But what happened is all of the stuff that floats on the water surface began to sink and change color, just like our leaves change color. So there were these vibrant reds and oranges and things that began to transform. Things started dying. It really was kind of caught at that very place where the cycle was dying. And, that's another thing that interests me. In my work, I try to capture just through compositional imagery the complexity of these places. So, it's very dense, the imagery that I'm using, a kind of network of a lot of things intersecting and kind of organic chaos, but there is order and pattern within it. And I was trying to sort of capture that with the paintings as well. The complexity of stuff, the variety, diversity of stuff that goes on in those spaces, and also that kind of life-death cycle that things are dying. It's, again, that complete sustainable system.